Okay, so get this. You ready? Even rocks and water, they can like reveal secrets about how the universe works.
Hmm.
We're going to be diving into information density today,
Okay.
and you might be surprised
Mhm.
how this idea connects things like, water carving those big canyons,
Right.
the evolution of life,
Yeah.
and even just how we understand the world.
It really is fascinating how information density,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just some kind of abstract concept, it's like this fundamental principle
Hmm.
that underpins so much of what we see, what we observe in the universe, like from
Yeah.
the smallest particles to the largest galaxies.
I am intrigued. I
Yeah.
gotta say, though, information density does sound a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
So can we break it down a little bit?
Sure.
What does it actually mean?
Well, essentially, it's about how much information is packed into a system, right?
Okay.
Think of it this way. A simple rock that has relatively low information density.
Okay.
It's static, doesn't change much.
Yeah.
Kind of like, imagine a library
Okay.
with only a few books.
Okay. Very limited.
But water is dynamic, right?
Okay.
Constantly flowing. It carries energy,
Yeah.
and it's interacting with everything around it.
Uh-huh.
It's more like the internet, I would say.
Oh, okay.
This vast network of information that's constantly changing and evolving.
Okay.
That's high information density.
So the internet is to water as a small library is to a rock.
Yeah, you get it.
Okay. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But how does this difference in information density, how does that play out in the real world?
Well, just think about, have you ever thought about how water erodes rock over time?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of information density in action.
Okay.
So the water, with its higher density, is essentially reshaping the rock, you see,
Mm-hmm.
almost like it's rewriting the information contained within it.
So even something as seemingly passive as water
Yeah, exactly.
can have this incredible power to reshape something as solid as stone.
Totally.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I'm picturing like those amazing canyons that are carved by rivers over millions of years.
Exactly.
We're literally seeing information density at work.
Yes.
Shaping the landscape around us.
Exactly. And it's not just about erosion either.
Yeah.
Even stone, if it has the right conditions,
Mm-hmm.
can transition to states of higher information density.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me a rock can become more informed?
In a sense, yes.
How does that even work?
Well, think about what happens when you apply like immense heat and pressure to a rock.
Okay, yeah.
It transforms into magma, right?
Right.
A liquid state
Yeah.
with more potential for change,
Uh-huh.
and eventually it can even become gas.
Oh, wow.
So, in a sense, the information within the rock is being unlocked,
Okay.
allowing it to flow more freely. It's like going from a whisper to a shout.
Okay.
The same information's there, but it's being expressed with greater intensity, you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But this brings up a question. We often hear about, entropy,
Right.
this idea that everything tends toward disorder.
Yeah.
So if that's true, shouldn't everything just be dissolving into chaos?
Right.
How do we explain the evolution of life?
Yep.
Which seems to be all about, increasing complexity.
Well, that's where the idea of information processing capacity becomes critical, I think.
Okay.
It's not just about having information.
Right.
It's about being able to use it effectively.
Okay.
Water, with its fluidity and its ability to interact and recombine and transform, it becomes kind of a breeding ground for complexity.
Okay.
Think about DNA replication, for instance. You know that intricate dance of molecules encoding and transmitting genetic information?
Right.
That's a prime example of information processing
Yeah.
driving the evolution of life.
So it's like a computer chip is useless without software.
Exactly.
You need both the information and the ability to process it
Yes,
to create something truly remarkable.
precisely. And this leads us to another fascinating concept,
Okay.
which we can view through the lens of information density.
Right?
Friction.
Friction.
Okay.
Wait, rubbing two things together, how does that connect to all this?
Okay.
I thought we were talking about rocks and water
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
evolution of life.
Well, it might seem like a jump, but friction is actually deeply tied to information exchange.
Okay.
So from an information density perspective, friction arises when systems with different densities interact, right?
Oh.
Think of it this way. You got a rough surface,
Yeah.
uneven texture, and localized information density
Okay.
creates more resistance than, let's say, a smooth, more uniform surface.
So a rough surface
Yes.
is like a jumbled message, harder to decipher
Yeah.
than a clear, concise one.
That's it. And that resistance, that difficulty in information flow,
Okay.
that's what we experience as friction.
Gotcha.
Our source highlights 3 key points about this. First, friction can be seen as resistance to information flow.
Okay, yeah.
Those rough surfaces I mentioned
Yeah.
create more friction than smooth ones.
Makes sense.
Second, the heat generated by friction represents a loss of information coherence.
Yeah.
It's like some of the information is getting scrambled in the process.
Okay, so friction isn't just about physical roughness.
Right.
It's about the way the information interacts
Yeah,
between
yeah,
systems.
exactly.
I'm starting to see how this all ties together. What's the third point?
All right, so the third point
Yeah.
is pretty fascinating.
Okay.
Friction can actually cause phase shifts.
What?
Yeah, imagine rubbing 2 pieces of ice together.
Okay, yeah.
The friction generates heat,
Right,
right?
right.
And what happens? The ice melts into water.
Right. Of course.
You've gone from a lower information density state, the solid ice,
Okay.
to a higher one, liquid water.
So friction can actually force a system to become more complex.
Yeah.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It really challenges the way I usually think about friction, you know?
Right.
Just like a force that slows things down.
Yeah.
This is a different way to think about it.
It's a powerful concept. Friction, at its core, is a process of information reorganization.
Okay.
It's the universe's way of trying to resolve mismatched information densities.
Interesting.
But what's even more fascinating, I think,
Yeah.
is that this idea of friction as information exchange
Okay.
can be applied beyond just, physical surfaces.
Really?
Yeah,
Hold on. Are you saying like friction exists beyond the physical world?
absolutely.
I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that.
Think about it. Anytime there's a clash of ideas or cultures,
Okay.
or even, personal beliefs, you can think of it as a kind of informational friction.
Okay.
Those clashes represent different levels of informational complexity, trying to find a balance.
Okay, so we've gone from like rocks and water
Right.
to the clash of civilizations.
Yeah.
This concept is way more expansive than I initially thought.
Yeah.
Give me some more examples of how this informational friction plays out in, different areas of life.
Okay, let's consider the evolution of technology.
Right.
Each major advancement, from the printing press to the internet to artificial intelligence, represents a jump in information density.
Okay.
These innovations allow us to process and transmit information more efficiently,
Right.
but they also introduce friction when they clash with existing systems and ways of thinking.
So the friction comes in when these new technologies bump up against older ways of doing things.
Yeah.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly.
You're going to encounter resistance.
Take the printing press, for example.
Okay.
When it was first introduced, it met with considerable resistance.
Really?
People feared the spread of knowledge, the potential for disruption, right?
Yeah.
That was informational friction at work.
Okay.
A clash between an older, more localized system of information control and a newer, more fluid one.
And we see the same thing happening today with AI.
Exactly.
There's excitement about its potential, but also fear about its impact on jobs, privacy, and even creativity.
Yeah.
It feels like we're experiencing that friction in real time as AI integrates into our lives.
Precisely. And understanding this through the lens of information density can help us navigate these transitions more effectively.
Okay.
It's not about resisting change,
Right.
but about recognizing that friction is a natural part of progress.
So rather than fearing friction,
Yeah.
we should see it as a sign of growth.
It's like growing pains,
Okay.
They're uncomfortable, but they're a sign that you're developing and maturing.
I like that analogy.
Friction is a signal that information density is seeking a new equilibrium, and that can be a powerful force for positive change. But this whole discussion makes me wonder, where does consciousness fit into all of this?
Ooh, that's a good question.
If everything is information, does that mean our thoughts and feelings are just another form of information density?
That's a great question. And to be honest, it's one that's had philosophers and scientists scratching their heads for centuries.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers, but the concept of information density offers some intriguing possibilities.
Okay.
Some theories suggest that consciousness itself is an incredibly complex form of information processing, perhaps the most complex we know of.
So you're saying our brains are like supercomputers,
Yeah.
constantly crunching data from our senses and experiences to generate our, subjective experience of reality.
That's one way to think about it.
Okay.
And if we view consciousness through this lens, then friction, that clash of information densities, could play a role in shaping our thoughts, beliefs, and even our sense of self.
Wow, that's a mind-blowing idea.
I know, right?
It suggests that even our internal world, the way we experience ourselves and the world around us,
Yeah.
is influenced by these interactions between different information densities.
Yeah.
But it also raises another question. If information density is so fundamental, does it have limits?
Right.
Is there a point where a system becomes too dense?
That's an excellent question,
Right.
and one that physicists and philosophers are still grappling with.
Yeah.
Some theories propose that there might be a limit to how much information a given region of space can hold,
Okay.
a kind of information density singularity,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, and now we're getting into some pretty heavy territory.
Yeah.
What would that even look like? Can you give me a concrete example?
Well, it's highly speculative,
Okay.
but some scientists have suggested that black holes might be linked to this concept
Oh, wow.
of an information density singularity.
Okay.
These incredibly dense objects, where gravity is so strong that not even light can escape,
Yeah.
could represent regions of ultimate information density.
So a black hole is like the ultimate information sponge,
Kind of.
absorbing everything around it and compressing it into an infinitely dense point.
That's a simplified way of putting it, but you're getting the idea.
Okay.
And this raises profound questions about the nature of information itself.
Yeah.
If information can't be destroyed, as some laws of physics suggest,
Right.
then what happens to it when it enters a black hole? Does it get compressed, transformed, or even transmitted somewhere else?
It sounds like we're just beginning to understand the true implications of information density.
Yeah,
We've gone from rocks and water
right.
to black holes and the nature of consciousness.
Exactly, and that's what makes this concept so exciting.
Yeah.
It's a framework that can potentially connect seemingly disparate phenomena, from the erosion of rocks to the evolution of consciousness and even the mysteries of black holes.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that everything in the universe is interconnected,
Right.
that information is the fundamental building block of reality.
As we've been talking, I've been thinking about how this concept of information density applies to our social systems.
Okay.
Societies are essentially networks of information exchange, right? So wouldn't that mean societies with higher information density are more dynamic and adaptable?
That's a very astute observation.
Thanks.
Think about the flow of information within a society.
Okay.
The more open and accessible that flow is, the more opportunities there are for innovation, collaboration, and progress.
Right.
Societies with more restricted information flow, whether through censorship or limited access to education or other forms of control,
Yeah.
tend to be less dynamic and adaptable.
So a society with a free press, robust educational systems, and open access to information would have higher information density
Right.
and therefore be more likely to thrive.
It's not a simple equation,
Sure.
but generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
The freer the flow of information, the more resilient and adaptable a society becomes. It's like a network of interconnected waterways,
Okay.
constantly exchanging ideas and perspectives, which allows for greater creativity and problem-solving capacity.
But even in open societies, there's still friction, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We see it in political debates, cultural clashes, even online arguments.
Yeah.
Does this mean friction is inevitable,
Yeah,
even in a society with high information density?
absolutely. Remember, friction arises from the interaction of different information densities.
Right.
In a diverse society where people have different beliefs, values, and experiences, there's bound to be friction.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Wait, are you saying that conflict can actually be beneficial for a society?
It can be.
That seems counterintuitive.
Think of it as a form of creative tension.
Okay.
When different ideas collide, they can spark new insights, challenge assumptions, and ultimately lead to a more nuanced and sophisticated understanding of the world.
So instead of avoiding conflict, we should learn to embrace it as an opportunity for growth and learning.
Exactly. It's through those encounters with difference, those moments of friction,
Yeah.
that we expand our horizons and deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Right.
And this applies to individuals just as much as it does to societies. Embracing diverse perspectives, engaging in respectful debate, even challenging our own beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
These are all ways of increasing our own personal information density.
I'm starting to see how this concept can be applied to so many different aspects of life, from our personal growth to the evolution of entire societies.
Okay.
But this brings up another concern.
Okay.
We're constantly bombarded with information in the digital age, from news and social media to advertising and entertainment.
Yeah.
Could this overload be a form of friction itself?
That's a brilliant point, and it's a challenge we're all facing in the digital age.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of information we're exposed to
Mm-hmm.
can create a kind of cognitive overload,
Right.
a new form of friction that makes it difficult to process and make sense of it all.
So it's not just about having access to information.
Exactly.
It's about having the skills and tools to navigate it effectively.
Right.
How can we avoid getting lost in this sea of information?
That's where critical thinking skills, media literacy, and even mindfulness practices become essential. It's about learning to filter the noise, discern reliable sources from misinformation, and prioritize the information that's truly valuable and relevant to our lives.
It sounds like we need like a good map and compass,
Yeah.
to navigate this vast and ever-expanding landscape of information.
Mm.
We've talked about information density and nature, technology, and even society.
Mm.
But I'm curious about its role in creativity.
Yeah.
It seems like creative breakthroughs, they often happen when different ideas collide.
Right.
And there's that spark of friction that we were talking about earlier.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Creativity thrives on the interplay of information,
Right.
those unexpected connections that emerge when different perspectives come together.
Right.
It's like those moments when you're stuck on a problem, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, like a seemingly unrelated thought or experience triggers a solution.
Yes. It's that classic aha moment
Yes.
where information suddenly clicks into place
Yeah.
in a new and meaningful way.
Right.
It's almost like a mini explosion of information density.
Yeah.
A sudden burst of insight.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Think about the role of inspiration in the creative process.
Okay.
Artists, musicians, writers,
Mm-hmm.
they often draw inspiration from a wide range of sources.
Yeah.
Nature, other art forms, their own personal experiences. Like
Yeah.
they're absorbing information from their surroundings.
Yeah.
And then using their creative faculties, they synthesize it into something new and original.
So every creative act
Yeah.
is essentially like a testament to the power of information density.
Exactly.
It's about taking existing information, transforming it, adding a unique perspective,
Right.
and creating something entirely new.
Precisely. And this process of transformation,
Yeah.
of adding our own unique information to the mix, that's what drives cultural evolution.
Okay.
Think about the evolution of music, for example.
Okay.
From classical to jazz to rock and roll to electronic music. Each genre builds upon what came before,
Yeah.
incorporating new influences and ideas.
It's like a constant remixing of information,
Yeah.
a never-ending flow of creativity
Well,
shaped by, each generation's unique perspective and experiences.
And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of information density.
Okay.
Its role in meaning making.
Oh, okay.
As humans, we're constantly striving to make sense of the world,
Yeah.
to find patterns and connections that give our lives meaning and purpose.
So are you saying that the search for meaning is also a quest for higher information density?
In a way, yes. We're driven to understand, to connect the dots,
Yeah.
to create a coherent narrative out of this vast sea of information that we encounter, right, throughout our lives.
Right, right.
And this process of meaning making is deeply personal and subjective.
Yeah.
What resonates with one person may not hold the same significance for another.
That makes sense.
Oh.
It suggests that meaning isn't something objectively out there.
Right. But rather something we co-create
Yeah.
through our own unique interactions with information and experiences.
That's a profound insight, and it suggests that the meaning of life itself might be something we co-create
Oh, wow.
through our individual and collective efforts to understand and connect with the universe around us.
Oh. Okay. That's a pretty deep thought, but it's also kind of empowering,
Right.
If everything is ultimately information,
Yeah.
then maybe the meaning of life is to keep exploring, to keep learning,
Yeah.
to keep increasing our own information density and contributing to the collective understanding of the universe.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
And perhaps in that ongoing exploration, in that constant striving to understand,
Yeah.
We're also contributing to the overall evolution of consciousness in the universe.
Whoa, now you're really blowing my mind.
Yeah.
But I have to ask,
Yeah.
if everything is information, what does that say about the things we often consider intangible?
Like, love, compassion, or even spirituality?
Right.
Are those just different forms of information processing?
That's a fascinating question, and one that's it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But if we consider that even our emotions and feelings are ultimately generated by complex neurological processes,
Right.
then it's not unreasonable to think that they too could be understood through the lens of information.
So could love be a kind of information exchange,
Yeah,
a resonance between two conscious systems,
possibly.
a way of sharing information about our inner world
Yeah.
with another person?
It's an intriguing possibility.
Yeah.
Think about the way we communicate love.
Okay.
Through words, through touch, through shared experiences.
Yeah.
These are all forms of information exchange, ways of conveying our feelings and connecting with another person on a deeper level.
And maybe spirituality could be seen as a way of tapping into a higher level of information,
Maybe.
a connection to a source of wisdom and meaning that transcends our individual selves.
It's a beautiful thought.
Yeah.
And perhaps practices like meditation or prayer could be seen as ways of refining our ability to receive and process information from a more subtle realm.
This conversation has been incredible.
Yeah, it has.
It seems like information density has the potential to unlock not only the secrets of the universe, but also
The mysteries of our own hearts and minds.
exact.
It's a journey of discovery that's both exhilarating and humbling.
Rah.
And as we continue to explore,
Yeah,
I believe we'll find that information is not just a dry technical concept,
right.
but a source of wonder, beauty, and infinite possibility. It's the fabric of reality, the essence of what we are, and the key to understanding our place in the grand scheme of things.
Well, on that inspiring note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
But before we go, I want to thank you, our listener, for joining us on this incredible journey.
Yes, thank you.
It's been a real pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
It really has.
And remember, the exploration doesn't end here.
That's right.
Keep those minds open, keep those questions coming, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world of information density.
Because the more we learn about information, the more we learn about ourselves and the universe we inhabit. And who knows what amazing discoveries await us on this incredible journey of understanding.
Until next time, keep exploring.
See you later.